I typically do my Interview with the Vampire eye makeup looks on Sundays, and I wear them to work just to have a little fun, a little silly, goofy, girly time. Anything to stave off the horrors of late stage capitalism, you know, just have a little fun shits and giggles, right? So this is the look I did today. It was like a little homage to Baby Lulu, Claudia's theater character. Just some blues. I don't know if you can. It's the end of the night. The makeup has not really held up that well. It looks a little muddled, but I'll show you what I used. So we're in the Interview palette, and as you can see, there's not a light blue in there, but there is this dark blue. What color is that called? That's a New Orleans. And then I also used a little bit of Mortal there for the highlight color. I used Mortal on top. That's held up a little nicely. And then I put the dark blue at the ends. And then I went back into my Danger Days palette. Gotta get that out. Danger Days palette. And we use that really light blue there called Muskrat. And then we put a little bit of this color, this blue shimmery color called Motor Baby. And that's what we did the look with for our Baby Lulu homage. But for the actual episode, like review, recap, commentary, we're gonna do a little bit of a stronger homage to Baby Lulu for the actual recap. Okay, now it's giving full Baby Lulu with this intense blue eye makeup. So I did the light blue, and then I went over it with the little shimmer. I don't know if you can tell, the little freckles. She has two little flowers in her hair, but I was like, let's just do one. Have it be like a little Hawaiian moment. But yeah, and I did take a couple of pictures with giving more, but we'll see if those make it on the internet anywhere. It's a little embarrassing, but hey, you know what? Anything for fandom, right? It's not embarrassing. It's only embarrassing if you're embarrassed, right? Low-key embarrassed. But anyway, let's get into this episode. All right, so now that we're situated where we normally film, let's get into this. But before we start, I wanted to bring a little attention to this guy up here. I got all of these things that's on the wall from the Street of Immortality. I went to San Diego Comic-Con last year, and I got to experience the Street of Immortality, this little exhibit that Immortal Universe AMC put on, and I got all these goodies. I got my Louis print, and I finally got it. I got it signed a couple of weeks ago by Jacob. Finally got it in frame. I won this guy for my cosplay. It was an original drawing that the artist that was working the Street of Immortality was doing. It was a live drawing, and I won it. I'm assuming because of my my cosplay that I did of Louis. And then I found this. I was like, I have more things from the Street of Immortality. Could not remember where I put them. But I found this guy here. This is actually the back side of the sheet music of Come To Me. There's a big picture of Lestat. I was like, I don't want to put that up. But I turned it around, and lo and behold, we have a flyer from the Théâtre des Vampires. So I was like, that's going up there. So I just wanted to bring a little attention to that guy since it's new. But yeah, this episode is entitled, I Want You More Than Anything in the World. It was such a good episode. We got a lot of stuff in here. Of course, we have our spoiler warnings that we give at the beginning of all of these little talks. This little review recap situation is not spoiler free for the episode, of course, but it's also not spoiler free for the books or the movie. I might be bringing in some information from those sources. So if you are coming to Interview with a Vampire, the TV series, blind and don't want to know anything that could possibly influence that, put a pin in this, come back to it later after the season has aired. But this is not spoiler free, unfortunately. We also won't be talking about everything in exhaustion. We'll just be talking about some key points that I want to talk about in this episode. So first and foremost, we have Claudia's debut at the theater of the vampire. She's in her baby Lulu. I'm hearing baby Lou, and I'm hearing baby Lulu. I'm not sure which one it is. Baby Lou, let's go with that. She's doing her little song and dance number, and it's like Louis said, this place is weird. There's random violence and instant death. I think that's what his summary of all the plays was, and we definitely have that. Now, Claudia is outright tired of the play already. She's done 500 performances, and in the episode they also say like 2 years have passed, so I can definitely feel her, but also she wasn't feeling it from the get-go, so it's a miracle that she lasted that long, honestly. And let's highlight her costume in this episode. It's really interesting, and we haven't really talked about costumes in this in these episodes. As a cosplayer, that's a crime. I like this outfit, but I'm not particularly drawn to cosplaying it beyond like just doing like a little makeup kind of test. But it's really cute. Madeline roasts it later on in the episode. Claudia's sick of wearing it, and Armand makes her wear it day, noon, and night, eating, sleeping, hunting. He's like, oh, you're sick of Baby Lou? I'm gonna show you what sick is. Which is so weird. Like, I don't understand why he thinks that is gonna make her want to get back into the spirit of the play, but who knows? I'm loving Claudia's look as a ragged vampire. I don't know, I actually liked it more than Baby Lulu. I loved that little hair wrap. I loved the eye makeup and the lipstick. I don't know, I thought she looked super cute in that outfit specifically, and I'm like, I think I can cosplay that look. But yeah, let's move on. From that performance and how Claudia has become so lackluster, we see that the theater and Santiago and Armand are all using this as a kind of a veil and a front to hash out some of the coven's issues that are going on. Everybody is feeling like they're not into it, especially from Armand. They think he's too busy with Louis. Santiago's telling Armand, oh, you're criticizing Claudia and what she's doing, but yet the audience is loving it. Like, what is this really about? Like, are you, I think it's a Celeste is backing him up there, and Estelle. They're saying that it's easy pickings for him to critique and come down on, as opposed to all the other issues that are going on in the coven. People are not coming back on time for curfew. Rules are being broken left and right. Everybody's kind of checked out of their performances. So they're saying like, oh, you're gonna pick on the easy pickings, basically. Call Claudia the new girl. And you know, it's not right. Like, let's talk about what's really going on. The theme of discontent in the theater and like has gone on throughout the whole episode, and it ramps up at the community dinner, where we see all the most of the vampire coven sitting around, you know, family style at the Olive Garden, and Santiago starts making fun of Louis. He's mocking him. He starts mimicking him. Celeste says that he's not even that handsome. Excuse me, girlie. Louis the handsomest boy in the world. And like they say, he's so full of himself, you know. And then Santiago uses this opportunity to like, okay, I'm listening to you talk, and it's giving New Orleans. It's not giving Chicago. It's giving New Orleans. Like, and I think Claudia and Louis, like, why wouldn't they think that these vampires are as well traveled as them? Like, we don't know any of their backstories. Santiago could be from Chicago, from all we know. You feel me? So, like, this whole the story that they've made wasn't really thought through. Santiago clocks his New Orleans accent, and he was always suspicious. And Louis had enough, and he goes across the table, yanks on his tongue, and calls him a buffoon. He calls him a buffoon. I didn't know how much I wanted it until I resigned myself that we were not gonna get that moment, and I'm so happy that we did. It's one of my favorite parts in the book and the movie, where Louis is just like so annoyed with him, like, and you know what? I thought we were not gonna get it because it's such an old world kind of insult, but we're in the 40s, so it's apt, right? So I was really happy with that, and Armand flexes his powers, knocks everybody out, and tells them to stop acting like fledglings, which was really funny. But that word triggers Louis, so maybe not the best word to use, but yeah, Louis storms out, and ignoring Armand. And Louis in this episode, he's starting to feel himself. He ignores Armand when he tells him to come back. He tells the coven that they're not a thing, that they're not companions in front of all of the coven. Where Armand says we are companions. Armand's telling him, you're doing all these things that is making me look weak in front of the coven. You're not hunting with us. You're reading during our plays. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. And Louis is being very dismissive. Very dismissive. He does say, I'll give you some leeway, but he's being kind of very dismissive of Armand and the plight that Armand is going through. He did tell him, like, he was upfront with him last episode. He was like, these are your problems. They're not my problems. So it's not like he didn't tell Armand, like, basically, like, all these things are on you. But he could, if he's claiming to love Armand, but she does tell Armand in this episode, he should be a little bit more, he should be giving a little bit more than he is. I will say that, although I am a Louis girly and a Louis apologist. Getting back to this coven mutiny. At the end of the episode, we are in the thick of it. The coven members are calling Santiago Maître, and they're full on in Claudia and Louis' apartment, going through their things, trying to find evidence. Don't have to look very hard because Claudia has her diaries right there on the table. And the diary where she has written in Lestat's blood his last words. Like, girl, why is that out?
Going back and watching the episode, it does look like they were up in a cabinet and Louis takes them out in frustration while looking for his photography stuff.
That should be in a lockbox somewhere. And yeah, we already see that even without like looking through each and every one of them, it seems like Santiago has a power of like just picking something up and like knowing the contents somehow. We saw him do a little bit of that in the first episode that we see him in. He sticks his fingers in this dude's head and kind of get all his knowledge, but I thought that was because it was so visceral. He seems to be able to pick up an object and know things about it. So what power is this, guys? I'm not sure. What would we call this power? But yeah, so Santiago, if it wasn't literally on the first page of one of her diaries, he didn't have this power, he might have had to like go through them and try and find out this information, but it was literally right there, and he does have this power. So yeah, it's not good, y'all. He's made his power play, and the coven is seemingly gonna back him. And that kind of brings us to Louis and Armand and their situation, what's going on. Like I already previously mentioned, Louis has really blossomed in Paris. He's come back into himself a little bit more. He's come back into his confidence and his bravado. I think it's really, I think it's more that he now isn't constantly looking over his shoulder, that Lestat's gonna come for him. It's been 7 years at this point, I believe, and Lestat hasn't come. And even Lestat in his, in Louis' thoughts, Dreamstat he is the threatening, menacing figure glaring over his shoulder, telling him he's gonna kill him. He's Louis' like silly little confidant, you know? So even in Louis' own thoughts, Lestat isn't a threat anymore. He's kind of resolved that. And so Louis coming back into his confidence, and he's feeling a little bit of that vampire pride Claudia's talking about. We don't really see him being hesitant anymore about killing humans. Louis isn't that reticent vampire that we saw at the beginning of their time in Paris, or you know, that we've basically seen this whole series. And we see that switch definitely at the end, where not only does he stand up for himself in front of Claudia, he tells her, you know, he's telling her the truth without sugarcoating it. She asked him, how did Armand find out about Lestat? Because he threatened her with the truth and that getting out. And Louis like, yeah, well, he knew the whole time. Like I told him, like he's being very upfront with her, and she's pissed about it. And then he tells her, well, you know, you're accusing me of choosing Armand over you, but you chose the coven over me. And through Lestat, he kind of says, oh, that's our wild daughter. She has a wilderness in her. I think Lestat said, like, oh, here comes the mistake or something. Like Louis is kind of reckoning with the fact that, okay, Claudia was kind of a mistake, which she was. Yeah, so he's definitely choosing himself. He's over putting Claudia first. He's over putting the feelings of the coven first. He's over putting the feelings of his partner first. And as a Louis girly, I want this for him. I'm sad that Claudia's feelings are being hurt. I'm sad that Armand's feelings are being hurt, but I love this for him. He needs to put himself first. It's part of self-actualization, and this seems to be the journey that Louis is on this season. So I'm happy for him. I support Louis, and I support Louis' wrongs. And at the end of the episode, he tells Armand, like, bro, this is what we're gonna do. You're losing control, you're feeling you panic about it, you're telling me to give up and leave, and like, we gotta escape this. No. I've dealt with people like Santiago. I know how to rule things, I know how to run things. And I'm like, yes, Louis, yes you do. Like, you've dealt with the likes of the racists back in New Orleans, you know how to finesse, okay? So that's what he's telling Armand, and he's like, this is what we're gonna do. Is the plan that he's setting out for Armand gonna work? No, because they don't know what's going on in the background, that they've got all this information already. He's telling Armand, oh, just give Santiago the illusion of power. It's not gonna work. I do like that he's taking charge, and Armand calls him maître at the end. Like, what? What? Oh my God. Yeah, that's really interesting. But yeah, I love Louis coming back into his own, into his bravado, and to his sense of authority. Love that for him. And going along with this idea of Louis coming back into his own, we see him letting go of Dreamstat. After, you know, like I said earlier, that Dreamstat has kind of become his silly little confidant. And we see that Louis, at the end of the episode, is like, he doesn't need that anymore. He doesn't need Lestat saying the things that he's too weak to say. He can say them for himself now. He can tell Claudia off without it coming from, without it being just a thought. You know, he can tell her. So Dreamstat kind of fades away at the end, and that was sad. That was kind of sad. I've really warmed up to Dreamstat. I was kind of annoyed at the start because I'm like, we don't need this much Lestat in the story, but I kind of started liking him, especially in this episode. He was pretty funny. But it does seem like that was the last of Dreamstat in this season. Next episode is going to be heavily focused on Armand and Daniel. That's number 5. 6, 7, and 8. I'm thinking we're getting back to Lestat in the following episode. So we can talk about the power dynamics of Armand and Louis in the present. It seems like that shift has carried on to present day. And of, you know, Louis kind of taking the more powerful stance in that relationship, and Armand kind of taking a step back. You know, Louis freaking out about the pictures, and Armand's trying to be very placating. And I always thought that, so some people have said that they believe that Armand was the one who was in charge and doing all sorts of freaky mind things to keep Louis under his thumb. I always thought that Louis was in control of the relationship, but in control in a way that Armand is letting him be in control. That was my initial thought, but now Louis might be in control, not like that Armand's letting him. So that's really interesting. We see Louis. I felt low-key bad for Armand, and I'm just like, what is this? Assad is such a great actor, and we're getting a side of Armand that I thought we were not gonna see. He's much more human and more sympathetic than I think he comes off in the books. We get his backstory in this episode, and of course that's really sad and just like heartfelt, and Assad giving that monologue was just I was just captivated by the whole thing. But when Louis goes to like that gallery place to have his photos looked at, and the guy picks up the picture of Armand, he's like, oh, this dude's fragile. He is like, he is like, he's talking for the audience, and like we see that Armand's power is very precarious. Like he is powerful, but it's not. It feels like he doesn't think that he deserves the power. I don't know what's going on with Armand, yeah, he's not confident in holding that power. Maybe he doesn't want the power. That's what he kind of says at the end of the episode. that's what he kind of says at the end of his monologue, like, and what Louis kind of parrots to him too is like, do you even want this power, you know, that you have? So yeah, I don't think he does. I think he is very much keen on being a follower, and that's why he lets Louis kind of walk all over him. I did not appreciate, well, I've said that I am a proponent of Louis. I'm a Louis girly and I support Louis's wrongs. I was kind of feeling bad for Armand, not gonna lie. Daniel and his visions. I have no idea what the hell's going on with that. So we're just gonna put a pin in that and leave that for next episode. It does not seem like anything in particular is, well, at least to me, it doesn't feel like anything in particular is triggering them now. In the past, it seemed like maybe Armand was saying certain things to trigger it, but in this past episode, it just seems like the floodgates are just opening and sort of anything is kind of bringing back these memories, especially with Daniel sneakily creeping on his computer trying to figure out, going through all these files. I think that's another, you know, reason why these little visions of Armand are popping up here and there and everywhere. In this episode, we see Madeline and Claudia interacting again. I don't know about y'all, but I'm not getting romance from Claudia and Madeline, at least not yet. I've seen some people start shipping them before we even saw them together. So that's interesting. But so far, from their first interaction earlier in the season and then this episode, it's not giving romantic to me. And high key, I hope they don't go there. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that. But yeah, it's not giving romance. It's giving so far that like twin flame. It's giving I see you, we're seeing eye to eye. I think Claudia's really pulled to Madeline's bluntness, her kind of bleak outlook on life. She tells her, you know, well, not even bleak, but just realistic. Like she tells her, blow up, calm down, have some fun, blow up again, you know, relax. Like, this is life. C'est la vie. Like, and Claudia's like, kind of like, oh, you know, gives her a look like I hadn't considered that before. So I think Claudia's really pulled to just Madeline's matter of factness. Madeline isn't putting on a performance like, you know, so many other people are, you know, performing who they are on and off stage. Madeline's being really real with her, and she talks to Claudia like a human, like a person, not like they're talking to a child. So like so many, like talking down to her, like so many people in her life do. So she's talking to her about sex and just real things. So I think that's what Claudia is really drawn to, and I think that's why she might choose Madeline as a companion. She has a sense of self, something that Louis doesn't have. She's real, and like Claudia appreciates that. So hopefully we see more of that. Hopefully it doesn't skew romantic. I don't really want to see that, but yeah. So Louis and Claudia are at odds again, which, like I said last episode, in episode 1, I don't like seeing them at odds. I like seeing our brother-sister, father-daughter relationship. We saw a little bit of that at the family dinner. He's talking to her, all excited about his photography and showing his work, and she's excited for him. We love to see that. At the end of the episode, we have this blow-up fight where Louis basically tells Claudia off, she tells him off, and I feel like I'm not mad at Louis for doing it either. I feel like it comes to a point where you have to stop blaming people for you have to start taking accountability. I feel like Claudia, while her predicament is Louis' fault, and Louis and Lestat's, but particularly Louis' fault, there comes a time when you have to stop blaming others for your predicament. Claudia is not a child anymore. She's a grown woman. She's in her 40s now. It's time to put on your big girl panties and stop blaming. I can't believe I'm saying this. Stop blaming Louis for everything. Especially when you are actively looking for people and things to replace him. Actively calling him dead weight and all these things. So yeah, and then Claudia is also self-sabotaging. She's breaking the coven rules. She's not cleaning up after herself. It's like she's putting the coven in danger, according to them, by not following the rules and not putting on this performance that Armand tells her, this play is a hit. We're counting on this to bring people into the theater. This is how we get our victims, basically. This is partly how the coven is still going, because of this theater, and the success of it depends on the success of the plays. And your play is successful, you're actively trying to sabotage it. Is she actively trying to sabotage it? I don't think so. But I feel like once she saw that they were putting her in this baby doll dress and infantilizing predicament, her and Louis should have ran for the hills. She should have been on board with getting the hell out of there. But she didn't. She chose to continue and stay in the coven and engage in this play and now suck it up and deal with it. But she's not. She's doing everything but, not following the rules. And then even, like I said before, I think that Santiago is trying to help her out. He tells her tenderness can turn to tinder. And if it was other vampires who had seen you breaking rule number 3, then, it wouldn't have gone like this. They probably would have went straight to Armand and told him. Vampires have gotten put to death for breaking these rules. My empathy for Claudia is dwindling, honestly. I love Claudia, but I think it's also time for her to take some accountability for her actions. So yeah, y'all, that's all that I want to talk about for this episode. Did I hit all the points that you're interested in? Let me know in the comments down below. What are your key takeaways from this episode? I would love to hear your theories, especially about what's going on with Daniel. Like, what's triggering him? So yeah, y'all, love to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.